WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia will go down as one of the best of all time. But can the 41st edition of the Showcase of the Immortals in Las Vegas be even better? We here at Aussie Cousins Wrestling are going to predict the card for the two-night extravaganza, a long time before it even makes sense to do so. If you like a bit of Aussie charm to your sports entertainment, then subscribe to the channel to help us out on this journey. And let us know in the comments below who you think will be in the biggest matches on the card, and like the video while you're there. But for now, Mikey Spence and Chris Apples will take you through our way too early WrestleMania predictions. That's right, we are doing WrestleMania predictions and it is January 10th, 2025 right now. So obviously things may very well change in the next couple of days or weeks leading up to Royal Rumble and then Elimination Chamber. But this is what we think is going to happen. Now, obviously, every one of these titles is not going to be defended at WrestleMania, so it's most likely going to be the shows around WrestleMania for some of these, but we are including every title in here just for that sake. So, for example, some of the smaller titles might be wrestled on the go-home show or the show after WrestleMania. We are going to include it here, and then we're going to include 8 feuds each that we think are going to happen as well. So, let's get into it. Okay, so we are going to start with the big ones. And first up, Mike, who do you think is going to be in the WWE Undisputed Championship title match?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at the end of WrestleMania last year when he won, and the show after. The Rock said something or gave Cody Rhodes something that nobody really knows still to think. I think it was a match clause with The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. I really do.
Right.
And I also think that Cody Rhodes is still going to keep the belt for another maybe 6 months after WrestleMania.
Interesting. Okay, so those main attractions of The Rock and John Cena, I am not putting him in title matches at WrestleMania. I will discuss John Cena's plan later on and The Rock's plan later on, but I think we are going to have Cody Rhodes and CM Punk as the match for the WWE Undisputed Championship at WrestleMania. And again, I think Cody Rhodes is going to win that, but I think they are finally going to give CM Punk his WrestleMania main event this year because he has done incredibly well for the company since he debuted at Survivor Series 2023. Okay, now staying with the men, the World Heavyweight Championship, who have you got for this match, Michael?
I've got Gunther versus John Cena. John Cena announced he was going to be in the Royal Rumble on Raw. I believe he's going to win the Royal Rumble and take on Gunther. I do think he's going to actually win it to break the record.
Wow.
I think that's going to be it, yeah.
If we had a fantasy booking thing, I would go for John Cena to win it towards the end of the year. But a John Cena moment at WrestleMania would be incredible as well. Okay, my match for the World Heavyweight Championship is Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. I think that they are going to put Gunther in a match against someone who he already has really good chemistry with and just say, go out there for 20 minutes and put on the best match you possibly can and try and steal the show. Because I know Triple H loves Gunther and he appears to really love Drew McIntyre, and I think it'll be a great sort of reward for the year that Drew McIntyre has put in as well.
They've also had some amazing matches in their careers. They've got a good, deep history as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get into the women's world titles. First off, the Women's WWE Championship. This is the one that is contested currently on SmackDown. I will go first with this one because we both have the same. We just have different winners. So I am going with Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. I think this has been kind of signposted a little bit with Charlotte Flair looking like she's coming back in the next few days, and with SmackDown being tomorrow and before we actually release this video, she probably might have actually come back already.
That's right, yes.
But we don't know that just yet. I think these two will put on a fantastic match. They do have a similar wrestling style. Tiffany's almost like a younger version of Charlotte, really, and I think this is going to be a wonderful match if it occurs. Michael?
Yeah, I've got Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair as well. The only difference is I think Flair's winning.
And I think Tiffany's going to win.
Yeah. I just think that it'll be the ultimate comeback if she wins. Tiffany will get another shot later on in a couple of years' time, but I think she's an interim champion. It's been a great story, great fairy tale for her, but I think Charlotte's going to do it. Yeah,
there's a lot of doomsayers in and around wrestling booking, and I don't think Tiffany losing at WrestleMania would spell the end of anything for her. I think it'll just increase her star regardless of the result. Okay, moving on to the Women's World Championship, which is the one currently contested on Raw. Mike, you can go first with this one.
So I've gone with the triple threat. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. I was and ahhing about putting Liv Morgan in, but I still think she'll be involved in the title scene up until WrestleMania. I believe that Rhea will retain after she won it on Raw, the Netflix premiere. I do believe this will be an absolute banger. And Becky Lynch's return, I believe she will get so close, but Liv Morgan will pull her away and Rhea will pin Liv.
Oh, yeah, I like it. I've gone something very similar. And again, it was a situation for me where I couldn't find another spot for Liv Morgan, but I think she needs some sort of reward for that she's put in. So I've got her almost as the third wheel in this match. But I'm going with Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky to have won either the Rumble or the Chamber.
Yeah, right.
And then Liv Morgan as the third wheel in some way getting herself into the match. With the sneaky, cocky, conniving heel character that she currently is, there's a million ways that she can get herself into a match like this. And for me, I think it's got to be Rhea Ripley retaining. And I like your pick of Becky Lynch almost getting the title and Liv Morgan pulling away. I can see that happening. The same here with Io Sky. Yes. A beautiful over the moonsault, and Liv Morgan gets her at the last second. But Rhea Ripley retaining for both of us. Okay, now we are going to go on to some of our feuds before we get back into the rest of the titles. Now, some of these have taken us quite a while to do, and occasionally it's just putting people in places, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So we're not going to go into too much depth about all of them, but some we might go into. So first off, my number one feud. This is where I'm putting in The Rock, Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. They said the Bloodline saga had ended between Roman and Solo. I don't think that could happen, because you don't have anywhere for the Bloodline to go.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Roman Reigns and The Rock are going to come back together, and what better way than to face Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu has the night of his life at WrestleMania, but Solo Sikoa is the one that takes the pinfall, and I reckon it will probably be The Rock, because he will use his muscle to get the pinfall.
Twist does Fatu turn on Solo that night?
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
And in some way, Jacob Fatu's got to go out on his own and win a title, and we have a video coming like that soon.
I've gone for Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill.
Yep.
I believe the storyline at the moment, I do believe something's going to happen very, very soon. Well, it needs to, because obviously for this happening. But I do believe these two, it showed it last Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Jade met Bianca in the middle, and I believe this is going to happen.
Okay, Mike, what's your next match that you've got?
I've got Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. Drew has come back into this, going through the bloodline individually, one by one, to destroy them. He started with Jey Uso the last couple of weeks, and I believe it will come to him versus Roman. I do believe Roman will get over the line, because the Usos will come out and help.
Okay, my feud number 2, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I mean, I think it'll be their third match against each other, and they've had a match with each other at WrestleMania. But I just think the way that they are plotting this out, that they keep just missing each other in different places, it's so much fun, and you can have so much more fun with it coming up. But the second Kevin finally gets his hands on Sami, it's going to be brutal, and it's going to lead to a WrestleMania match for me. Okay, the next one that I have on the list, I don't know whether it's going to make Mania, but I think it'll happen around Mania. I'm going Wyatt Six versus Judgment Day, and that'll be Judgment Day without Liv Morgan, given that she's in the championship match for me. So I think this will be the point where the Judgment Day are finally ended. It'll be something like a Finn Balor, Raquel, Carlito, and JD versus 4 of the White Six, perhaps with Uncle Howdy on the outside, and he somehow helps to get the win. White Six going over, Judgment Day disbanded forever, because I think they've been wonderful, but I think it's just about time for them to go. Mike, who have you got next on the list?
I have Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. I believe this could be pushed into some sort of hardcore match, street fight match, because they were friends. Randy was trying to be the peacemaker between him and Cody, and it's all blowing up. Randy's injury with Kevin Owens doing the pole driver.
Yeah.
I believe Randy Orton will come back, and this could be a very brutal match.
Interesting. Okay, next up, who do you have?
Finn Balor versus Damien Priest. This, for me, may not make Mania.
Yep.
It may be on the match before or the match, the show after. Yeah, I just believe it's going to happen one last time. It's a combination of the Judgment Day all blowing up as well.
Yeah.
I believe Damien Priest will win.
Yep. Okay, I personally am hoping that they no longer see each other after Raw on Monday, but you know how these things, they can drag on for quite a long time, so I could see that happening. My next one on the list, now I had to put him in somewhere, Randy Orton versus Ludwig Kaiser. And the way I see this, that I think Gunther is going to SmackDown, Randy Orton is going to try for the title at some point once he comes back, and then somehow Ludwig Kaiser is the one that costs Randy the title, and then he goes after Ludwig. That's just my thinking at this point in time to try and get a match for Randy. Next one up, I'll go with this one. I have Rey Mysterio versus Penta El Zero Miedo. So Penta El Zero Miedo is going to be debuting on Raw on Monday. It'll probably have already happened by the time this video comes out. He is incredible, but I think he is more insane as a heel, and eventually he should be doing that. He'll get a huge pop when he comes out.
Absolutely.
He'll have an incredible entrance, but I think he needs to be a heel. That's where he works his best. And what a better way to announce yourself than by getting a win over Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Okay, Mike, who have you got in your next feud?
I've got the Usos, Jimmy and Jay versus Jake Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Another one. This is where I had to split the bloodline feud still into. I think it's going to carry on. I do believe the Usos will win, and maybe even Fatu maybe turning on Solo in this one as well. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I think both of us have Fatu at some point turning on Solo so he can go out on his own. All right, Mike, next up, who have you got?
Sammy versus Logan Paul. I just put this in hypothetical. If they do match together, this could be an incredible match just for the crowd. I don't know how much of the storyline. I don't know if it's be a long storyline or anything. I just think if they put them together, it'll be an amazing match because they both can work with anybody.
Okay, I've got Logan Paul in my next match as well, but I've got him with John Cena. I think Logan Paul is going to come back in the Rumble or Elimination Chamber and somehow cost Cena a shot at the title at Mania, and that's where they go into a feud. There's been rumors that Logan Paul wants to face John Cena, and I think that's probably going to be a match that happens at some point this year, so I've got it at WrestleMania at this point in time. Okay, this is another one where I had to put Bayley somewhere on the list, and I'm probably jumping through hoops here to get this on, but I think Naomi versus Bayley, and that's a heel Naomi versus a face Bayley, and the way that I've got this happening is that Jade Cargill comes back, and again, by the time this video goes out, she may have already come back, and then she gets back with Bianca, and Bayley is the one who rats out Naomi to say that Naomi has attacked Jade Cargill, and then that sets up Naomi and Bayley for WrestleMania and leaves Bianca and Jade to keep the tag belts, and then they go on and face other people. Mike, who have you got for your next match?
So I've got CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a cage match. I think it'll be the ultimate culmination of their feud.
Yeah.
Hopefully it can last this long. I don't know. To me, this is probably my least hypothetical match that's going to go ahead. It'll be brutal. It'll be nasty if it happens. Maybe put them both out for a few months.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it happen. But I still think it's my least relatable match that could possibly happen.
Yeah, it's one of those that if they can continue together, like if they can keep working together, then this absolutely will happen at Mania. I'm just not sure whether they can work together. That's the issue there. Yeah. But if it does, amazing. Yeah. Okay, the last of my feuds, and again, this is me having to put people in places. Unfortunately, I just didn't have spots for them, but Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. I can't think of a way it actually ends up coming together, but I didn't have anywhere to put either of these two, so why not put them together in a match? That would be pretty good. They had matches previously together, and they were good matches, so let's put them together and give them 10 to 15 minutes and try and showcase what they can do.
And mine is a Dirty Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. I believe this is the unearthing of Dirty Dom. I believe he's going to get one over his father and elevate his stature into the next level of maybe even the main event card. Yeah,
and as we've said in previous videos, I think both of us can see Dirty Dom at some point very soon getting a really sneaky world title win out of nowhere, dropping it after a couple of weeks, but just his character would be perfect for that kind of move. Alright, let's get back into some of the other championships. Now, first up, we've got the WWE Tag Team titles. These are the current SmackDown Tag Team titles. Michael, who have you got?
So I went with a Fatal 4-Way ladder match on night one for this one. I've got DIY, MCMG versus Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under. I do believe Street Profits will finally get their title after 4 years. This will be an incredible match. There's so many high flyers here and just generally solid, good stars that can do anything in a ring.
And amazingly, independently, we have come to the same match for these titles. I have DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns versus the Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under in a ladder match. And again, I think this should be the crowning of the Street Profits. Finally, as we speak, it's just been over 4 years since they last had the titles. That is ridiculous. ridiculous.
Way too
So this is going to be the crowning for them, hopefully at WrestleMania. Okay, next up we have the Raw Tag Team titles, which are called the World Tag titles. And I have the New Day versus the Usos. So my thinking here is that the New Day will win this off the War Raiders at some point soon. You have seen Jimmy and Jay being in and around the New Day and being disappointed with their actions. And I think eventually that's going to culminate in a WrestleMania match for me. And then I think the Usos will get one over the New Day at WrestleMania. Mike, who have you got for this match for you?
So I went for another ladder match because they seem to do it in WrestleMania. They seem to get good, great ladder matches. So War Raiders versus Creed Brothers versus New Day versus LWA. The main reason for LWA is Del Toro and Wild do some crazy stuff in Madden. That's the only reason why the big spots. I do believe the Creed Brothers may get their chance of glory. They may drop it. They may drop it straight after in 3 or 4 weeks, but they just get their spot, their moment.
I couldn't put the Creed Brothers, unfortunately, anywhere on my card at this point in time just because of the way they've been booked. But I really want them to be tag team champions. Okay, next up we have the women's tag team belts. What have you got for this match, Michael?
So I have Meta 2, which is Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, the Unholy Union, the Pure Fusion Collective, and Chance and Carter. This one was very hard for me. I didn't really know who to pick as a winner because they're all sort of the same level. Maybe the Unholy Union are a little bit above them, but I believe Meta 2 will get their chance because they've been in and around the sport. Every now and then you see them on the main roster, then they'll go back to NXT.
Yep, and I think we both believe that Lash Legend is going to be a breakout star for 2025, so I can see her at some point lifting some sort of goal, whether that's in NXT or on the main roster. We will see. And you've got on this one that it's actually going to be vacated previously, and that's the reason why Bianca and Jade are having a match at WrestleMania. So that's actually really good thinking to me. Okay, so for my pick for the women's tag title match, I've got Bianca and Jade, who have got together after Naomi's heel turn, versus Nia and Candice, because I think they need to be somewhere on this card, versus the Meta 2, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, because I think they really like those two, and they can do some great spots, versus the Unholy Union, because they are fantastic hands, and probably they'll be there for the pin. Those two are wonderful in the ring, and definitely deserve their chances towards the title, but I think Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to retain, and that will continue Bianca's streak. Okay, next up we have the Intercontinental Championship, and for me this is a bit of a wish more than what I am thinking is going to happen, but Bron Breakker versus Sheamus. Now I don't know if they've had a complete one-on-one match. I think they may have had a match that went to a DQ. I want to see these two guys have a proper one-on-one match that goes the distance. Give them 10 to 15. Doesn't have to be stupidly long because we know Bron Breakker is good at that 10-minute kind of mark. But I think this should be Sheamus's final crowning of winning the Intercontinental Championship to be the ultimate Grand Slam champion, which I think he might be the very first. That also includes the King of the Ring and the Royal Rumble titles as well. Because I think on Chris Van Vliet, he said he'd be the very first person to do that. Mike, who have you got?
Yeah, I've gone with Bron Breakker and Sheamus. This potentially could be the best match of whichever night it is. If they give him 10 to 12 minutes and they just let him go hard for those 10 minutes. Both of them put on bangers after bangers. They really do. And these two work really well together.
Yeah.
And I also have Sheamus creating history and winning it.
Excellent. And now we're going to move on to the US Heavyweight Championship. Michael, who do you have?
So I have Shinsuke versus LA Knight versus Andrade. I believe this could be a good match. It may not pan out to how I think it's going to. Gable might be involved somewhere in this, but I do think if Andrade's in it, I think he'll get his time. Not for a long title reign, but I think he'll just be in it, maybe even just to Survivor Series.
Yeah. It's funny with Andrade because he gets no pop when he comes out, but then when he's wrestling, the crowd is entirely behind him. So it's really, really interesting. I have a very similar match, except I have Chad Gable in there as well. So LA Knight versus Andrade versus Shinsuke versus Chad Gable. And I have Chad Gable finally becoming a singles champion in the WWE. And I think this would be a wonderful four-way match. And next up, we have the Women's IC title. Now, the championship final is going to be held on the Monday after we are recording this. So by the time this goes out, this may very well be completely different. But I'm going to go with Lyra Valkyria winning that, or at some point winning the championship down the line. And I think she is going to face Becky Lynch. So they had a bit of a friendly feud in NXT when Becky Lynch was the champion down there.
Correct.
And Lyra won it after her. And they put on some really good matches. They have great chemistry. And I honestly reckon the person who would be training Becky to get back in the ring is probably Lyra Valkyria. And they would want to put on one hell of a match for the IC Women's title. And then I'm going to say Becky Lynch probably gets her win back from the previous one when Lyra beat her for the NXT Championship. All right, Michael, who have you got for yours?
Yeah, I've got Lyra Valkyria versus Natalya. I think Lyra's going to be a great champion up to that, but I think Natalya gets her moment that she's been dying to have, and she's put in the hard yards, and she's going to win the championship on WrestleMania.
And the final championship that we have is the Women's US Championship. Mike, who have you got for this one?
I've got Chelsea Green versus Naomi. Once again, Naomi's time to shine. She's come back from pretty much oblivion, even in being TNA where she was doing really well. She's come back. She's done the storyline, not involving her, and this is going to be her moment.
Okay, I have something a bit different. I have Chelsea Green versus Piper Niven. I think they might be heading for a bit of a closure of their storyline together. There's always this strange friction between the two of them, but then they end up hugging it out and being friends at the end of the day. But I think eventually that is going to fall apart, and hopefully that gets some sort of match at WrestleMania, or maybe on the SmackDown before or after WrestleMania. And I think Chelsea Green will retain her title if that is the case. But I think they'll actually put on a really good match because Piper in ring in the last year has been absolutely wonderful.
She'll work with anybody.
Exactly. Okay, so that's what we think is going to happen way earlier than we probably should be doing this. But hey, that's the fun of this kind of video. Let us know in the comments down below which one of these matches you think will actually happen, and put some of your predictions for WrestleMania in there as well. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you love this kind of Aussie charm in your WWE content. Click the video that's on the screen now, and most importantly, make sure you guys have a wonderful day.